The red dust of Mars swirled outside the windows of Deep Space Monitoring Station 7. Inside, Commander Jack Thompson stared at his coffee cup, watching the liquid swirl in the low Martian gravity. His quiet morning shift was about to become the most important moment in human history. "Commander, you need to see this." The urgent voice of Ted, the station's sensor operator, broke through the early morning silence. Jack pushed away from his desk, letting his chair glide across the smooth station floor. The main screen showed a cluster of unusual energy readings, unlike anything their instruments had ever detected before. Massive energy spikes pulsed in a region of space just beyond Jupiter's orbit, far from any known human vessels. "How long has this been active?" Jack asked, leaning forward to study the readings more closely. "First signals appeared about 20 minutes ago, sir. At first, I thought it was just instrument error, but..." Ted's voice trailed off as another surge of energy lit up the screen. Jack pressed the station-wide comm button. "All senior staff to the command center immediately." His voice echoed through the station's corridors, and within minutes, the room filled with the station's top scientists and operators. Dr. Lisa Wright, their chief scientist, immediately went to work analyzing the data. Her eyes widened as she processed the information streaming across the screen. "These energy signatures, they're not natural. The patterns are too regular, too structured." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. After years of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, it had finally found them. "There's more," Ted said, his voice shaking slightly. "The energy patterns, they're distorted. Something's wrong with them. It's like they're being torn apart." Jack made a decision. He opened a direct channel to Earth Command. "This is Mars Station 7. We have a code first light. I repeat, code first light, requesting immediate authorization to launch our deep space observation vessel." The response came faster than anyone expected. Within an hour, Jack and a small crew were aboard the station's most advanced telescope ship, the Galileo, pushing their engines to maximum safe speed toward the mysterious signals. As they approached the coordinates, the ship's more powerful sensors revealed something that made everyone on the bridge gasp. A massive fleet of ships, unlike anything humans had ever built, was caught in what appeared to be a swirling vortex of gravitational forces. The vessels were elegant, almost organic in design, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly metal. "My God," whispered Dr. Wright, studying the readings. "Those ships, they're being pulled apart. The gravitational forces in that region are completely chaotic. It's like a cosmic whirlpool." The alien ships' hulls sparked with energy as they struggled against the invisible forces threatening to tear them apart. Despite their advanced appearance, they seemed helpless against the natural phenomenon trapping them. Then it happened. A signal, clear and deliberate, reached their communications array. The computer struggled for several minutes before producing a translation that made sense. "Help. We are the Centauri. Our systems fail. Children aboard. Help." The message repeated, growing more desperate with each iteration. Jack looked at his crew, seeing the same determination in their eyes that he felt in his heart. Humanity's first contact with alien life wouldn't be a moment of triumph or fear, but one of rescue and hope. "Send a response," he ordered. "Tell them we're here to help. Send them our language database to improve communications." As they worked to establish better communication, more details emerged. The Centauri were refugees, fleeing from a cosmic disaster that had destroyed their home system. Their advanced ships, designed for smooth space travel, weren't built to handle the extreme gravitational distortions they'd encountered. Their technology, superior in so many ways, had become their weakness in this crisis. Jack sent a detailed report back to Earth Command. Humanity's first major decision regarding alien life wouldn't be about war or diplomacy. It would be about saving lives. As he looked at the struggling alien fleet, he knew that everything would change after today. Humanity was about to show the galaxy what they were truly capable of. "Begin rescue planning," he ordered. Let's show our new friends what humans can do. Earth's response to the crisis came faster than anyone expected. Within 24 hours, Captain Maria Rodriguez stood in the command center of the rescue ship Atlas, Earth's toughest space vessel. Built to withstand the brutal solar storms of Venus mining operations, the Atlas wasn't pretty, but it was strong. Your mission is to attempt rescue operations. Admiral White's voice crackled through the communication system. But Captain, don't risk your crew needlessly. Those ships are far more advanced than ours. Maria looked at the detailed scans of the trapped Centauri fleet. Their ships were beautiful, like silver butterflies caught in a spider's web. But beauty wouldn't save them from the gravitational forces tearing their vessels apart. Beginning approach, Maria announced. Her crew worked efficiently at their stations, their movements practiced from countless rescue operations in the asteroid belt. The Atlas's engines roared to life, pushing against the dangerous pull of the anomaly. The Centauri's main communication officer, who called himself Blue, watched in disbelief as the human ship approached. Captain Rodriguez, your vessel's hull design is primitive. You must retreat. Our most advanced ships couldn't withstand these forces. Maria allowed herself a small smile. Sometimes, Blue, primitive is exactly what you need. Our ship isn't pretty, but she's tough. Like a cockroach, hard to kill. The Atlas pushed forward, its thick hull groaning under the strain. Warning lights flashed across the control panels, but everything held together. Years of dealing with solar flares and micrometeoroid storms had led humans to build their ships like floating tanks. Impossible. Blue's voice came through again. Your ship should be breaking apart. How are you maintaining structural integrity? Simple engineering, Maria replied as her ship drew closer to the trapped fleet. No fancy force fields, just layers of reinforced steel and titanium, shock absorbers, and good old-fashioned redundant systems. When everything else fails, mechanical backups keep working. The crew watched their sensors carefully as they approached the closest Centauri vessel. The alien ship's sleek hull was already showing signs of stress, its beautiful surface marred by spreading cracks. We're going to attempt to establish a physical connection, Maria announced. Old-school rescue cables. Sometimes the oldest solutions are the best ones. The Centauri were clearly confused by this approach. Their own rescue attempts had relied on energy beams and tractor fields, all of which had failed in the chaotic gravitational environment. The sight of thick metal cables shooting out from the human ship seemed to both puzzle and worry them. Physical connection established, reported Mike from the engineering station. Cable tension is within acceptable limits. Maria took a deep breath. This was the moment of truth. Begin retraction. Nice and slow. The Atlas's powerful winches, designed for pulling damaged space stations, began to turn. The cables went tight, and for a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly, the trapped Centauri ship began to move. It's working. Blue's voice carried a mix of surprise and hope. The hull stress is decreasing as we move with your pull. One by one, more cables shot out from the Atlas, attaching to strategic points on the alien vessel. The human ship's engines worked at full power, fighting against the gravitational forces, slowly pulling the Centauri ship free. First rescue successful, Maria reported back to Earth Command. But we'll need more ships. A lot more. Within hours, a fleet of Earth's toughest vessels was on its way. Mining ships, emergency response vessels, even modified cargo haulers. Humanity was sending everything they had that might help. As Maria watched the rescue ships approach, she felt a surge of pride. The Centauri's advanced technology had failed them, but humanity's primitive solutions were working. Sometimes the simplest answer was the right one. Your people are quite surprising. Blue commented, we thought your technology level would make you helpless in this situation. Instead, it might be the very thing that saves us. Maria nodded, though the alien couldn't see her. Humans are good at surviving, Blue, and even better at helping others survive. That's just who we are. Engineers Tom Baker and Anna Lee stood before a holographic display of the Centauri ships, their faces lit by the blue glow of the projection. They had been working for 20 straight hours, fueled by coffee and determination, in the makeshift lab aboard the Atlas. "Look at this," Anna said, pointing to the strange patterns in the Centauri shield data. "Their energy shields are actually making things worse. The gravitational forces are feeding off the power output." Tom nodded, running his hand through his messy hair. "It's like trying to fight fire with gasoline. But what if?" He grabbed a tablet and started sketching. "What if we combine their shield technology with our hull designs?" The two engineers called for a meeting with the Centauri technical team. Blue arrived with two other aliens, their silvery skin reflecting the lab's harsh lighting. The Centauri looked exhausted. Their ship's power cores were failing faster than expected. "We have an idea," Anna said, projecting their design. "Your shields are amazing, but they're too powerful for this environment. We want to make them weaker." The Centauri engineers looked confused. One of them, whom they called Green, spoke up. "Weaker? That makes no sense. Stronger defenses are always better." Tom stepped forward, holding up a simple rubber ball. "Not always. Look at this." He dropped the ball, letting it bounce. "When something hits this ball, it doesn't fight back. It gives way and absorbs the impact. That's what we need your shields to do." Understanding began to dawn in the alien's large eyes. For the next few hours, human and Centauri engineers worked together, combining their technologies in ways neither species had considered before. They modified a small rescue shuttle for the first test. The new shield system was much simpler than the original Centauri design, using only 20% of the power, but working in harmony with the shuttle's reinforced hull. "Ready for test run," Tom reported to Captain Rodriguez. The small shuttle moved toward the edge of the gravitational anomaly, its new shields glowing with a soft blue light. Everyone watched the sensor readings nervously. The shuttle pushed forward, deeper into the dangerous zone. The hull creaked, but held. The shields bent and flexed like a soap bubble, but didn't break. "It's working," Anna exclaimed, watching the data stream across her screen. "The gravitational forces are being absorbed and dispersed instead of fought against." The Centauri engineers stared at the readings in amazement. Their most advanced shield designs had failed, yet this hybrid of primitive human engineering and simplified alien technology was succeeding. "We need to scale this up," Captain Rodriguez said. "How fast can we modify the shields on the trapped Centauri ships?" Tom and Anna exchanged looks. "It won't be easy," Tom said. "We'll have to work from inside each ship. Their power cores are too unstable to make the changes remotely." "I will help," Green volunteered. "Our people can learn this new technique quickly. We just never thought to make our technology less advanced." Teams of human and Centauri engineers began working together, moving from ship to ship. The work was dangerous. Several times they had to evacuate quickly when power systems became unstable. But slowly, steadily, they made progress. The first full-size test came on a small Centauri transport vessel. As the modified shields activated, the ship's power core finally stabilized. The hull stopped creaking. The constant alarms fell silent. "Transfer complete," the transport's captain reported. We're stable. The ship is no longer being torn apart." A cheer went up in the lab. Humans and Centauri celebrated together, their differences forgotten in the joy of success. They had done what neither species could do alone. "We still have a lot of ships to save," Captain Rodriguez reminded them, "and the bigger ones will be more challenging. But now we know it can be done." Tom and Anna nodded, already turning back to their work. They had proven that sometimes the best solution wasn't the most advanced one. It was the one that worked. No one saw it coming. The gravitational storm that had trapped the Centauri fleet suddenly intensified, as if angry at the human success. Captain Maria Rodriguez watched in horror as the sensor readings doubled, then tripled in strength. "All rescue ships, pull back," she ordered through the emergency channel. But it was too late for 3 vessels closest to the anomaly. The rescue ship Horizon spun wildly, its engines screaming as they fought against the increased gravitational pull. The Phoenix's hull bent like paper in the wind, and the Voyager's power systems overloaded in bright flashes of electricity. "Get me those ships' status," Maria demanded, her knuckles white as she gripped her command chair. Horizon reporting heavy damage. Phoenix has hull breaches on decks 3 through 5. Voyager's lost main power, her communications officer reported rapidly. But they're alive. Emergency systems are holding. Blue's voice came through the comm system, filled with concern. "Captain, these forces, they're stronger than anything we recorded before. Your ships cannot survive this." "Watch us," Maria replied firmly. "Launch rescue pods to all 3 ships. We're not leaving anyone behind." As the rescue operations began, something unexpected happened aboard the Voyager. The ship's backup systems, running on minimal power, started interfacing with the Centauri vessel they were trying to save. The simple human computers, unburdened by complex AI protocols, connected smoothly with alien technology. "Captain," Tom's excited voice came through the comm. "The Voyager's basic systems, they're actually communicating with the Centauri ships better than their own advanced computers. The gravitational distortion that blocks their AI doesn't affect our simpler systems." This discovery changed everything. The human rescue ships quickly modified their computers to basic operation modes. Their straightforward, almost crude programs proved more resistant to the gravitational interference than the sophisticated Centauri systems. "It's like trying to knock over a tree versus a blade of grass," Anna explained to the confused Centauri engineers. "The grass bends and survives, while the mighty tree breaks." Using this new advantage, the rescue fleet reorganized. The Atlas led 3 ships toward the largest Centauri vessel, a massive colony ship carrying thousands of refugees. Their simple computers guided them through the gravitational chaos while their reinforced hulls protected them from the worst of the physical forces. But the storm wasn't done with them yet. A massive gravitational wave hit the fleet, sending ships tumbling in all directions. Warning sirens blared throughout the Atlas as support beams groaned and deck plates buckled. "Hull breach on Deck 6. Someone shouted. "Emergency force fields holding." Maria watched as her crew worked frantically to maintain control. The humans' years of training in space disasters were paying off. Each person knew exactly what to do, moving with practiced precision even as their ship shuddered around them. Centauri colony ship reports critical power failure in their life support systems, the comm officer announced. They have less than 30 minutes of air remaining. The situation was desperate. The colony ship held the majority of the Centauri civilians, families, children, their species' future. Its loss would be catastrophic. "Can we extend our power to them?" Maria asked. "Not possible," Tom replied. "But," he paused, an idea forming. "What if we link all our ship's simple computers together? Create a network to guide the colony ship out?" It was dangerous, maybe impossible. But they had no choice. The rescue fleet moved into position, forming a chain of ships leading away from the anomaly. Each vessel linked its basic computers to the next, creating a path of stable connections through the chaos. "Beginning synchronization," Tom announced. "All ships, power down to emergency systems only. Route everything through the basic computers." The Centauri watched in amazement as the human fleet coordinated with technology that their children used for basic mathematics. Sometimes the simplest tools were the best ones for the job. "Network stable," Anna reported. "We're ready to begin the final rescue attempt." Maria took a deep breath. Everything would come down to the next few minutes. "All ships, prepare for maximum stress. We're going to show these gravitational forces what humanity's really made of." Lieutenant Robert Wilson stood in the airlock of the Atlas, checking his suit's seals one final time. The emergency lights cast an eerie red glow across his determined face. Everyone on the bridge had told him this was a suicide mission, but he knew it had to be done. The colony ship's core will completely fail in 15 minutes. Tom's voice crackled through his helmet comm. Their containment systems are already breaking down. Understood, Robert replied. His voice steadied despite the fear in his gut. I only need 10 minutes. The Centauri colony ship was massive, housing over 10,000 refugees. Its power core, now dangerously unstable, needed to be manually overridden. The automated systems had failed, and the Centauri crew couldn't get close enough due to the radiation. Are you sure about this? Captain Rodriguez asked one last time. The radiation levels in there. My suit's lead lining will give me enough time, Robert said. And humans are more resistant to radiation than the Centauri. It has to be me. Blue's voice joined the conversation. Lieutenant, our people will never forget this sacrifice. But please understand, even if you succeed, the radiation exposure. I know the costs, Robert cut him off gently. But there are children on that ship. Where I come from, that's all that matters. The airlock cycled, and Robert pushed off, using his suit's thrusters to cross the gap between ships. The gravitational forces pulled at him from multiple directions, making every movement a struggle. His visor displayed the radiation warnings, already climbing into dangerous levels. Inside the colony ship, the corridors were dim, lit only by emergency lighting. Centauri families huddled together, their silver skin dull with fear. Children looked up at him with large, frightened eyes as he passed. 6 minutes to core failure, Tom reported. Robert reached the core access chamber. The radiation here was intense. His suit's sensors were screaming warnings. He could feel the heat even through his protective gear. I'm at the core, he reported, his breath getting heavier. Beginning manual override sequence. The override required physical manipulation of the core's control rods. Robert's hands shook as he worked, partly from radiation exposure, partly from the effort of fighting the chaotic gravitational forces that pulled at him from all directions. 4 minutes, Tom's voice was tense. Robert's vision began to blur. The radiation was getting through his suit faster than expected. But he kept working, remembered the faces of the children he passed. Lieutenant, your vital signs are critical. The Atlas's medical officer warned. You need to get out of there. Almost done, Robert gasped. The final rod needed to be aligned perfectly. His hands were shaking badly now, but he couldn't fail. Not with so many lives at stake. 2 minutes to core failure. With a final surge of effort, Robert slammed the last rod into place. The core's angry red glow stabilized, shifting to a calm blue. Core stabilizing, Tom reported, relief evident in his voice. Power levels returning to normal. You did it, Lieutenant. But Robert couldn't respond. He slumped against the control panel, his body finally giving in to the radiation exposure. The last thing he saw before losing consciousness was a group of Centauri engineers rushing in, their environment suits glowing with their advanced protection technology. He woke up 3 days later in the Atlas's medical bay, surrounded by both human and Centauri medical equipment. Captain Rodriguez stood at his bedside, smiling. The Centauri doctors insisted on treating you, she explained. Turns out their medical technology is pretty amazing at handling radiation damage. Though they said your own cellular structure did half the work, apparently humans are remarkably resilient. The children? Robert asked weakly. All safe, a familiar voice answered. Blue stepped into view. Our people have a saying. The greatest honor is to risk one's life for strangers. You have taught us that humans understand this better than anyone. Robert managed a small smile. The mission had nearly killed him, but he'd do it again in a heartbeat. That's what humans did. They helped others, no matter the cost. The colony ship is secure, Captain Rodriguez reported. But we still have more ships to save. Think you'll be ready for the next round after you heal up? Robert nodded. Just try to stop me, Captain. Just try to stop me. The warning came from the youngest member of the Atlas's crew. Danny, a 19-year-old sensor operator, noticed it first. a pattern in the gravitational readings that made his blood run cold. "Captain," he called out, his voice cracking with urgency. "The anomaly. It's collapsing in on itself." Captain Maria Rodriguez rushed to his station, her face growing pale as she studied the readings. The gravitational storm wasn't just getting stronger. It was turning into something far worse. "How long?" she demanded. "Maybe an hour before it completely collapses. When it does," Danny swallowed hard, "it'll create a temporary black hole. Nothing within 10,000 kilometers will survive." There were still 5 Centauri ships trapped in the anomaly's grip, thousands of lives hanging in the balance. The rescue fleet had already lost 6 ships, and the remaining vessels were damaged and struggling. "Captain," Blue's voice came through the comm. "Our scientists confirm your readings. We understand if you need to retreat. You've already done more than we could have asked." Maria looked around her bridge. Despite hours of exhausting work, despite the losses they'd suffered, she saw no fear in her crew's eyes, only determination. "We don't leave people behind," she said firmly. "Not ever." She opened the fleet-wide channel. "All ships. This is Captain Rodriguez. We have 1 hour to save 5 ships. I won't order anyone to stay. This is volunteer only." The responses came immediately, from every human ship. "Atlas standing by. Challenger ready. Odyssey in position. Phoenix not going anywhere, Captain." Tom and Anna's voices came next from engineering. "Captain, we've got an idea. It's crazy, but it might work." At this point, Maria said, "Crazy is all we've got." "What's the plan?" "We can't fight the collapse," Tom explained, "but we can ride it, like surfers on a wave." Anna jumped in. "If we position the rescue ships just right, the increasing gravitational pull will actually help us yank the Centauri vessels free. We'll use the enemy's strength against it." "The timing would have to be perfect," Danny added, running simulations on his console. "Too early, we don't have enough pull. Too late, we all die." Maria finished. "Show me the positions." The next 40 minutes were a blur of activity. The human fleet moved into precise positions around the trapped Centauri ships. Every cable, every tether had to be perfect. One mistake would doom them all. 15 minutes to collapse. Danny reported, his young voice steady despite the pressure. The first attempt nearly ended in disaster. The Challenger's main cable snapped under the strain, whipping through space like a metal snake. Only the quick thinking of its pilot prevented a catastrophic collision. 10 minutes. The Phoenix managed to pull the first Centauri ship free, its engines screaming as it fought against the growing gravitational forces. The Odyssey followed minutes later with a second rescue. 5 minutes. Gravitational forces approaching critical levels. The Atlas shuddered violently as it struggled to hold position. Warning lights flashed across every console as the ship's systems were pushed far beyond their design limits. Hull integrity failing. Someone shouted. "Reroute power from life support if you have to," Maria ordered. "We hold position." The Challenger, despite its damaged cables, managed to free a third Centauri vessel. The Odyssey, working with the Phoenix, pulled out a fourth. 2 minutes. "Captain." The last ship, the final Centauri vessel, was the deepest in the anomaly. Its hull was already buckling under the incredible forces. Every attempt to reach it had failed. Maria made a decision. "All ships except Atlas retreat to safe distance. Now." "Captain," Blue protested, "you can't." "That's an order." Maria's voice cut through all arguments. "Danny, give me everything you've got on those gravitational patterns. We're going to surf our way in there." The Atlas turned toward the heart of the storm, engines pulsing with power, as the gravitational anomaly began its final devastating collapse. Time seemed to slow down as the Atlas plunged into the heart of the collapsing anomaly. Captain Maria Rodriguez felt her ship groaning around her, metal and machinery pushed to their absolute limits. 30 seconds to total collapse. Danny shouted over the sound of straining metal. The last Centauri ship was just ahead of them, its beautiful silver hull now twisted and scarred. Maria could see families through its windows, pressing their hands against the glass, their faces showing both fear and hope. "All power to forward shields," she ordered. "Prepare every cable we've got left." The Atlas's simple but sturdy cables shot out, wrapping around the Centauri vessel like a web. The ship's engines roared, fighting against forces that threatened to tear them apart. 20 seconds. "Engineering report," Maria called out. Tom's voice came back, barely audible over the sound of overworking engines. "The core's running at 200% capacity. We can't give you any more power." 15 seconds. The Atlas began to pull, its hull screaming in protest. Warning lights flashed everywhere. Systems failed one after another, but still they pulled. 10 seconds. "The cables are holding," Anna reported, "but our hull integrity is down to 20%. 5 seconds. Maria felt her chair trembling beneath her. The viewing screen showed the space around them, twisting impossibly as the anomaly began its final collapse. "Everyone hold on," she screamed. "Emergency thrusters, now." The Atlas fired every thruster it had left, timing the burst perfectly with a massive gravitational wave. For a moment, it felt like the ship was being torn in half. Then suddenly, like a cork from a bottle, both ships shot free of the anomaly's grip. "Clear." Danny's voice was filled with disbelief. "We're clear." Behind them, the anomaly collapsed in on itself with a flash of light, creating a temporary black hole that quickly winked out of existence. The deadly trap that had snared the Centauri fleet was finally gone. The bridge crew sat in stunned silence for a moment, hardly daring to believe they had survived. Then cheers erupted, not just from the Atlas, but from every ship in the rescue fleet. All Centauri ships accounted for, the communications officer reported, tears of joy in his eyes. We did it. We actually did it." Blue's voice came through the comm, thick with emotion. "Captain Rodriguez, crew of the Atlas, we have no words. Our people will tell stories of this day for generations to come." The rescue fleet limped back to Earth, their ships battered but their spirits high. As they approached the blue planet, they found something unexpected waiting for them. Thousands of small lights filled Earth's orbit, civilians in private spacecraft, come to welcome home their heroes and greet their new alien friends. Signs floated in space, "Welcome to Earth," and heroes, all written in both human and Centauri script. The Centauri fleet would need months of repairs before they could continue their journey. Earth opened its doors to them, offering shelter and aid to the refugees. Humans and Centauri worked together, sharing knowledge and culture, learning from each other. 1 month after the rescue, at a ceremony held in the Great Hall of the United Nations, the Centauri High Council presented Captain Rodriguez and her crew with their highest honor. "You have taught us something profound," Blue announced to the assembled crowd. "We thought ourselves more advanced, more capable. But true advancement isn't measured in technology. It's measured in courage, in determination, and in the willingness to risk everything to help others." Maria looked at her crew, at Tom and Anna, who had solved the impossible problems, at Robert, still recovering but standing proud, at young Danny, who had seen the danger coming. She thought of all the other crews, the ships they'd lost, the sacrifices made. "We're not heroes," she said when it was her turn to speak. "We're just humans. This is what we do. We see people in trouble, and we help. It doesn't matter if they're from the next town or the next galaxy. That's who we are, and who we'll always be." As she finished speaking, the hall erupted in applause. Human and Centauri hands clapping together, two species united by courage, sacrifice, and hope. The stars above held new promise now, not just of wonders to be discovered, but of friendships to be forged and people to be helped. Humanity had proved itself not through power or technology, but through its indomitable spirit and unwavering compassion. And that, more than anything, was worth celebrating.